The bridge is now on the guitar, but you're going to have to keep watching to see what it looks like. Or I suppose you could fast forward. First thing to do is clean the slot out. It's full of finish and it's way too narrow as things stand. And I'm going to do it now before it's on the guitar. It's just easier. It's easier to clamp it in the vise. I'm going to use a combination of the scalpel and the original router bit that I used. Hopefully I'll just be able to scrape down, but I'm just going to just very gently, first of all, just try and clean the edge up with the scalpel blade. And I'm going to try and not block your view of this. I'm using the scalpel first because I want to get a nice clean edge. I'm not sure how brutal the router blade will be. Just trying to keep a lower angle to the wood so it's more of a scraping action than a cutting action. So I'm doing this side. The cutter would normally be going that way, but I'm effectively turning the cutter backwards to keep it as a scraping action. I can now get the bone saddle in, although the saddle will have to be cut to size at some point. I'll do that later. Now comes something I personally dread. I've got to get this bridge off this block. Normally I wouldn't be too concerned about getting a bridge off a block, but with these very thin arms, I'm worried that I might break them. I could just saw through the ends here. At least then there would be nothing at the end to lever against. These aren't stuck down, but the action of pulling the bridge off might maybe put stress there as it tries to twist. I think the best bet is probably to try and get the bridge straight off that way. I should add, there are 2 layers of masking tape. There's masking tape on the bridge, there's masking tape on the block, and there's just a small area of super glue in the middle. So I'm hoping this should come off fairly easily. Famous last words. Oh, I hate this. Let's try it with the palette knife. Now, do I try and put the palette knife between the layers of masking tape or under the bottom layer of masking tape? Yeah, that's not so bad. I'm going under the bottom layer of masking tape. Oh no, come on. Oh, wow. That was unexpected. A piece of masking tape. Let's try that again. And now I've taken a piece of wood off the block, not the bridge. Don't panic. I wonder if I could get that knife in there now. This is going to lift the whole thing, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, the problem with going under the bottom layer of masking tape is that it might be... oh, I don't know. Is that now loose enough that it'll come off? Let me try it this way. It's still stuck at the ends, which is not what I wanted. There we go, that end's free. end's free. And off it comes. Phew. There's some cleanup to do on the bottom here. I need to scrape that. There's looks to be a little bit of residue of shellac there, and presumably glue residue from the masking tape. But I won't scrape this until I'm ready to glue, because I need it freshly scraped. And of course there's a slight little shellac edge there that we'll clean up. Brand new scalpel blade. I'm going to score around the outside of the bridge as close as I can get to the bridge, and I'm only going to score the finish. I'm going to try and avoid scoring the wood underneath. Now this is both to mark the edge of the bridge, so I can scrape away the finish inside, and also to remove the masking tape, so that if the finish cracks, it stops at the score line. And I'm going to have to be very, very careful about this. I might have to turn this round so I can see better. Right, let's see if I've managed to get the top and not the bridge. I think in places I was catching the edge of the bridge, but that looks okay. And mercifully it's completely outside the masking tape, which is one of my fears. It's raising some of the grain. Yeah, it's becoming difficult to lift. Just trying to roll it off rather than just treat it like an elastoplast. Now I'm going to get some curved pieces. I'm wondering whether this is such a good idea. This will not stick to greaseproof paper, which is the idea, but I was hoping there'd be some adhesion. Didn't want it curling up like this. Right, yeah. This is not a good idea cutting on something that's got grain. I'll get some MDF. I guess I need to get myself a cutting board, but for now this will do. Just going to scrape the surface, prepare it for gluing, and I've got to get some of the excess finish off around the edges as well as scrape down the bare wood in the middle. So I've got a score line I can scrape to, so you'll notice I've taped the edge here just so I don't dig in at the other end. Flat-ended craft knife. This is the custom caul I made for the bridge. I'm just going to use it to hold the bridge in place while I scrape. One freshly scraped bridge. Rosewood is an oily wood and is a problem to glue, and you need to have a freshly prepared surface. I've avoided sanding because, being an open grain, I don't want any fine dust to go in. I've just scraped it. I'm not going to wipe it down with naphtha, which is a suggestion from some people. I've seen other sources say that this can cause problems because the naphtha wicks the oils from underneath the surface and doesn't really do much. It just creates new oil on the surface. I need to take 3mm off the end of the pins because as they stand at the moment they poke out slightly underneath, so because I'm going to be putting a caul underneath, I don't want them poking out beyond the bridge plate. This is going to be tight. I've had to cut my original cauls in half This one goes at the end and accounts for the fact that we've got a bridge plate underneath. The ibex clamps I've been using are just too narrow really, but of course any wider and it might be difficult to get them through the sound hole, so it's always a compromise. So I'm going to tape these in and see whether I can get the clamps on top. It's all going to be a bit tight. Okay, so what I've learnt from that is I need to put the clamps in across. Don't want to put the middle clamp in last. Okay, that seems to be okay. There's a millimetre of play, maybe 2 millimetres. Millimetre on the wings. That is tight. I wonder if I should take the clamps off completely. Okay, problem. I've realised that I might get glue squeeze out through these peg holes, locating holes, and I might end up gluing the caul to the underside by a tiny bit of glue, which may break off, but I'd rather not do that. So unfortunately, having taped all of my cauls in carefully, I'm going to have to take them all out. Because I've got to put a little bit of greaseproof paper on top of the main caul. Oops. You'll have to trust me that I've put the greaseproof paper on top of the main bit. I've had a camera issue and it didn't. I didn't film it, but it's in there, and I've now just got to tape the outer cauls back in place. Oops. Type Bond original. Here we go. Yeah, I might put more on actually. Let's see, yeah, I'm going to put a little bit more. see that I'm going to have a problem scraping the glue away underneath the wings. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that for maybe 20 minutes. Quite warm in here now. It's 28 degrees in here because the sun's out. So I'm going to leave that for a while, and then hopefully the glue will get leathery, and then I can pretty much peel the glue off. There is a danger that the caul might be touching the glue actually in the shallow parts of the wings, because the cork has pressed over the bridge to hold it down, as it should do. So this could be interesting, but I'll take what squeeze out I can off, and then I'll remove the masking tape, and hopefully that will pull the rest off, and I'll just have to scrape away glue when it's finished. But I don't want to be wiping with a wet cloth in case it undermines the joint. 20 minutes. Oh yeah, looks leathery. There's still a little bit of yeah, all I'm doing is peeling the top layer, but that's okay. Oh, didn't want to do that though. Ah. Give it a little bit longer and do this again. Peel the squeeze out off in layers. It's now been nearly an hour. The glue is leathery. I think I need to take the masking tape off. I just can't get at the glue under here. Hopefully by taking the masking tape off I can just pull it all out. This could be a bit messy, but I think the glue's sufficiently dry that it won't spread over the surface of the guitar. Ah, great. It's marked the surface of the guitar with masking tape. I've got some sort of bloom. Oh, that's... Oh. Not impressed with that. Maybe that will polish out easily, or maybe just a little bit of wax polish. Yeah, rather worryingly, there are little bits of finish coming off with the masking tape. This is not particularly good masking tape to be using on a French polish finish. I could probably have found better. I can't actually see. I'm wondering actually whether the bits of finish I'm seeing coming off are actually just scrapings, because I can't actually see that they've come from any spot on the... It might be that I had some scrapings on the surface of the guitar when I masked off the area. Or, no, I hadn't scraped then, had I? It's been 4 hours since I clamped up, so that should be plenty of time. Just going to get the clamps out without damaging the guitar. Ooh. Yeah, it's not so good. There's a little bit of clean up to do that. Fortunately, it's still sticky, so it should all just scrape off. Yeah, that will clean up with the damp cloth. I have to say, that's amazingly clean. Yeah, there's a little bit of glue here. There we go. To have so little cleanup to do is quite remarkable, actually. I'm really pleased with this. There's a little bit of white from the polish I put on this, but once I put a little bit of wax polish on, that will all clean up.